Hello, my name's the Retro Gaming Goose, and Merry Christmas, for this video is coming out on Christmas Day. It is still December, obviously, and I am still continuing with my Star Wars theme for... I've decided that December is Star Wars month, and this will be the final Star Wars video. And I just wanted to talk about some of the Xbox, or what I think Xbox exclusive Star Wars games that you just don't really see on other platforms. Like, whenever I think of the best way of playing these games, I always think of the Xbox versions. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But yeah, we're just going to go through a few of my favourite video games, Star Wars videos games on the original Xbox, and go from there. Hope you enjoy. So first up, we're going to go for Star Wars ObiWan on the original Xbox.
Star Wars ObiWan, originally titled Star Wars Episode 1 ObiWan, is an action-adventure game developed by LucasArts and was released in 2001 in North America and 2002 in Europe. The game's story takes place slightly before The Phantom Menace and is supposed to sort of be like a background story to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And as far as Star Wars stories go, it's alright. It does leap a little bit into Phantom Menace. You get to play through some of the events of Phantom Menace as Obi-Wan, but overall it's alright. But what this game really tries to do, and I don't know whether it fails or whether it succeeds at this, is all of your attacks with the lightsaber are mapped to the right analog stick. So you want to swing the saber up and down, you have to go up and down, left and right, and so on and so on. And it makes some pretty interesting mechanics. It's ambitious, and I can't decide whether it really works a lot, because it gives this idea that the lightsaber is like a baseball bat and you can just hit people all the time with it. But the graphics certainly look nice. But one thing we really need to talk about is how acrobatic Obi-Wan is. There is something about this gymnastic animations that I find fascinating. I could watch this little Obi-Wan Kenobi model front flip and back flip all day. I don't know why, it's just so strange. But overall, decent game.
The next game on our list is actually Star Wars Republic Commando. I've done a video on this before, and so I'm going to keep this one quite short, but that's the next game.
So Star Wars Republic Commando came out in 2005, again published by LucasArts, and is a tactical squad-based shooter game. And honestly, if you've not played Star Wars Republic Commando, it's one of the best Star Wars games ever. It's so good. To compare this to a game, or another game, I wouldn't compare this to something like a Call of Duty. This is made way more like a Rainbow Six game. You've got to work in your team, you've got to figure out how to take down some enemies. The whole aesthetic of this game gives the Clone Wars this really grim, dark, almost like Warhammer vibe. It's so brutal. Even the standard battle droids look like horrific monsters. They're really good at painting this picture of what the Clone Wars look like to the average, just the average person or the average clone. But the story for this one is pretty straightforward. You play as a Republic Commando, a specialised clone trooper with your squad, and you just go through various missions, just taking down the separatists. And it has some of the most iconic weapons from a Star Wars era. This submachine gun that you have, it has all these different attachments to it, so you can upgrade it as you go along. It is I fully believe this is one of the most iconic Star Wars weapons that's not in the main continuity. That being said though, the clone troopers, or the clone commandos, did make a return in both Star Wars Battlefront 2, the newer Star Wars Battlefront 2, and also the Bad Batch. I would go on, I would bet money saying that the Bad Batch is massively influenced by this. It only exists because of how successful this game is and how beloved by the fan base this game is. So that's a nice little touch. Technically speaking, the continuity of this game is Star Wars Legends, so no longer canon, but it was such a mainstay that it has now become canon. That's how cool it is. even just watching the gameplay now, this is some footage I captured on my Xbox, just watching it again, it was so like ahead of its time compared to other shooters that came out in 2005. Like I think, well, other first person shooters we would have had in 2005, I think we were just sort of still getting our head around Halo 2. Fairly certain there was a Ghost Recon game going around at the time, and there was definitely at least one Rainbow Six game, and I still think that this game is the most tactical out of all of them. There's just so many cool little things in this game. Like I love the way how when you get blood on your visor, there's a little screen thing that comes across to wipe it off. There's a little blade in your hand so you can like quickly like punch stab people. Great touch. And this game is pretty much available everywhere now. Like very recently, not say very recently, a couple of years ago, they brought this out for this like a remastered version on the Switch. So if you want to play this, I'd say that's probably the best way to play this game now, having it on the Switch, because all the graphics are just a little bit crisper, and it's always good having the older games as like mobile, like on the move, which is always fantastic. You can definitely get this game on Steam, and if probably works on the Steam Deck. I don't know, I don't actually have a Steam Deck yet, but it probably would work on that. But of course, if you want to play it how it was originally experienced, you can get this on the original Xbox. It doesn't cost a lot now. I think you can probably pick this up for about £10. Maybe if you were looking for like a mint condition or special edition, maybe about 50 quid. I think well, this is my original copy. I can't remember how much I got it for when it came out. So yeah, I've spoken about Republic Commando before, and we talked about it many times, and I'm not going to say too much more in this game. It's an iconic game, fantastic game, and an absolute must-have Star Wars game.
And now on to my final two games. Now, these two games are probably some of my most cherished Star Wars games I've ever played. And yeah, I love to talk about these games. So first off, we're going to be talking about Knights of the Old Republic 1 on the original Xbox, and then Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, originally released on the Xbox in 2003. This is one of the best Star Wars RPGs you could ever play. Everything about this game is so creative, it's so fantastic. The story takes place in the Old Republic, which unfortunately is kind of not canon anymore, but could still be canon. No one's really sure, but it takes place in the Old Republic, which is about 10,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, and it tells the story of Darth Revan and Darth Malak, both of them iconic, absolutely iconic Star Wars characters that have now since kind of been made canon in the Star Wars lore, and everyone's a little bit unsure. There's definitely references to Darth Revan, and again, I'm going to try and keep this spoiler free, but the story of this game, it is old school BioWare, because this game was developed by BioWare and published by LucasArts. The whole reason we have Mass Effect, the whole reason Mass Effect exists, is because this game exists. BioWare had such a good time writing and developing this game that they then went on with the same creative team to then develop Mass Effect 1 and then the whole Mass Effect franchise. So if you like Mass Effect, you will absolutely love this game because it's very similar writing. So originally this game was an Xbox exclusive, but was later ported to the Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Nintendo Switch. I think you can get it backwards compatible on the current Xbox. Not quite sure if it's ever been on any Sony consoles, but I could be wrong. I know that the very troubled remake of this is going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but that's a whole other video of the development nightmare that has been the Knights of the Old Republic remake. But the choices that you make in this game and the entire sort of story of this game and how it all plays out, the twists, the turns, this game has one of the greatest Star Wars twists, and if you don't know that twist, it will blow your mind, because it blew my mind as a kid. That scene of realization and like the plot twist moment completely blew my mind. all of the locations that this game takes you to are so good. They're so iconic to Star Wars. Obviously, this bit I'm playing at the moment, you're in Tatooine, but you also get to go to Kashyyyk and a few other places like Dantooine. And the graphics are, even now, even looking at this now, the only thing that I've got here is a retro tink that I've upscaled this on. But honestly, the graphics are incredible. It sounds great, it looks great, everything. It's still a fantastic game to play. Every now and again I get that itch, I get that craving to go back and play this game, and when I do, every time I like to play it in different ways. This is my dark playthrough that I'm going through at the moment, but it's fantastic. However, there was one game that, in my personal opinion, is better than this one. The sequel, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, is everything that the first one is not. Now, that may sound like sacrilege to some people. People seem to think that the first one is great, and yeah, it's iconic, it's fantastic, it's an incredible game. However, for me, the second game builds on everything the first one does. The choices you make now doesn't only affect your character, it also affects all of your party's character. You could have multiple different parties in this game, and it was just amazing. So Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 was released in 2004, so there was a very short release window in it, notoriously very rushed in development. However, this time around the developers had changed, and it's actually Obsidian Entertainment of Fallout New Vegas fame that developed this game and wrote this game and everything about it. It's still published by LucasArts, but Obsidian are the ones that took this game and made it fantastic. The first game walked, so this one could have run. If I was to compare this to like a Star Wars film, just so you get a rough idea of like the scale of this film, the first Knights of the Old Republic game would be like the equivalent of Empire Strikes Back. All round fantastic, very little flaw in that film, very little flaw in that game. However, Knights of the Old Republic 2 is your Revenge of the Sith. Initially, when it came out, people didn't like it. It was panned by critics. It didn't do very well in sales. But the fan base, after a while, the fan base just loved this game. Like, especially people that grew up with this game, like myself. It's just so incredible. Like, you've got to play this game. Go into this game not knowing anything about the story, because this story is dark. There are some horrendous Star Wars things in this game, like unstoppable Sith Lords that just rebuild themselves and regenerate, another Sith Lord that literally eats the essence of life, and a betrayal that you can see a million miles away. And it's still a betrayal. It still hurts to me to this day, because when you just think that you've convinced them that they're gonna stay with you, they still flip, and then they turn into one of the hardest people to fight in the game. Now, I will admit that this game is flawed with its ending. The ending of the game is incredibly rushed, but there are people out there who have made patches that fix the ending of the game. And if it is to be believed, there is a version on Switch where I think it's Aspire that are doing it on Switch, have said that they are releasing a DLC, which we still haven't got yet, which is a bit weird. But yeah, they're releasing a DLC that will patch how the game was supposed to end rather than how it currently ends, which I'm really looking forward to. I really want to see the alternative ending, or the true ending as it is. But this is the game that spawned basically the Old Republic MMORPG. Like, this is the game that like links very heavily to that game. It's got also the book, there's a novel, Darth Revan, which is also linked to this one. And it's, yeah, even though technically like this game's not so much to do with Revan, it's more to do with the Exile, who's like another character who is kind of linked, kind of not linked. They talk about Malak and Revan a lot in this game, who are the people in the first game, but it's they're not ever really seen. Sorry for the spoilers there, because this story has a much bigger story than the first one, I think. I don't know, it's very hard to explain. I would really like for people to play this and give me their opinion on what they think is the what's the bigger story, which one has the more at stake. But one of the things I absolutely adored about this game is the customization. Everything from your dialogue options that you have in this game to how you build your character, because there were so many cool characters that you could build. In the first game, when you eventually get to make a Jedi character, you kind of only get to pick between like Consular, Guardian and Sentinel, but now you have the Sith classes and they are incredible, which is I think Marauder, Assassin and Lord. And on top of that, you can kind of multi-class if you know how to like squiff the game a little bit. But yeah, fantastic game. I 100% recommend this game to anyone, and it is possibly my favourite Star Wars game ever.
So yeah, that's it. That's the final bit of my video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed this, like the video, comment below what your favourite Star Wars video game is on the original Xbox or original PS2, on the PS2 or even on the GameCube. Let me know in the comments below. I'll happily talk about it. If you have another Star Wars game that's on like the PlayStation 1, check out my video from last year, or any of the other, like even some of the SNES games. They're fantastic. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what your favourite Star Wars game is. As always, please remember to subscribe to the channel, it helps out a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.